I'm looking for nominations for board chair. We need a motion for a nomination for board chair. Pat?
I move to nominate Robert Staples to board chair.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second with Andrew with his hand up. Okay. Do we have any other nominations for board chair? Then I close the nominations. Give me a roll call, please.
Robin? Yes. Ava?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Jody? Yes. Tasha?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Chantel?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes. Abstain. And I would entertain a motion for nomination for vice chair. Elaine? We have a motion. Do we have a second for Robin? Lena with a second. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I close nominations. Roll call, please.
Lena?
Yes.
Elaine? Pat?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Jody? Yes. Chantel?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Tasha? Yes. Ava?
Yes.
Robin?
Abstain.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes. You can put your thing up now. You all set with attendance? Okay, we have everyone here. No adjustments. I'd entertain a motion to accept the June 9th, 2022 school board meeting minutes. Moved by Phoebe, second. Pat? Any errors, omissions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
That's seconded by Pat.
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Chantel?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Elaine?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes. And on to communications, I'd entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Kristen Weil, second grade teacher at Spruce Mountain Primary School, with regret. There's a motion. Pat? We have a second? Jody? Yeah. No. Chantel, sorry. I'm still trying to learn. Should have seen me in my classroom. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Lena?
Yes.
Holly? Yes. Elaine?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Chantel?
Yes.
Jody? Yes. Ava?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes. So moved. No public comments. Any board comments?
Just wanted to commend the staff and the faculty at the high school for a beautiful, beautiful graduation. That was just, the weather turned out perfect, and the kids, young adults, all looked grand, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful day.
And I want to add to that, the adult ed graduation was nice also. Superintendent's report.
Okay. I attended both our high school graduation and adult education ceremonies. It was very satisfying to witness their successes. Had a district-wide end-of-the-year recognition for our retirees last week. This week we attended an extra scheduled policy meeting, and also I attended virtually a few sessions of the School Safety Summit this week. I sat in on the trauma awareness session, social media, youth use, trends and concerns, and then the behavioral threat assessment section. So that's what I've done the last 2 weeks.
Comments, questions for Scott? Pat?
Thank you very much. Scott, the social media use and those kinds of training, could you elaborate on what those were?
Safety, they're just worried about how much cyberbullying is going on, and that's really what that piece was about, was the cyberbullying, what technology is out there to help schools with dealing with that situation. SROs were involved across the state as well, sitting in on those sessions. So, yeah.
Okay, administrator reports. Michael?
Hello. Okay, it's working. Just move it up a little bit. So, good evening. I was unable to attend the June 9th meeting, so some of the things I'm going to talk about tonight come from then. But I'll open up with enrollment. In May, when I spoke, we had 369 students enrolled at the primary school, and we ended with 370. So we gained a student in that last month of school. During that time, we had our field day. It was a huge success at our building. Our Title I staff, our special education staff, and our unified arts staff were all in charge of organizing it and planning it, and they did phenomenal. Julie Bolduck and Kim Thurston really took on a leadership role during that time and made sure that everything went beautifully. Kids absolutely had a blast. It was a good time. Right now, our custodians are busy kind of cleaning out their classrooms. I went through today. Almost the majority of our upstairs is almost already done. There was 5 or 6 rooms that already been waxed, ready to go. I was talking with Ed Melcher, and he's got a few rooms left up there, and they'll be on to the first floor. So it's nice to see I missed this at the beginning of, they had hired in August of last year, so I never closed the school before, so kind of learning all that. And I'd like to kind of close with a few thank yous. So my first thank you is to my fellow administrators, especially TJ, Pat, and Carrie, for helping me this year, kind of guiding me. Anytime I had a question, no matter how silly it might be, they were right there to answer it and kind of help me along this year. Also, central office staff. Anytime I had any issues with curriculum or technology, Chris was there. Anything to do with personnel or files, I could call Laura up. Crystal was there for budget issues. Scott, anytime I needed anything, was always there for me. Also like to give a shout out to our board members. I know some of you are new, but every time I was up here speaking this year, you were all very welcoming, very encouraging of the things that we're doing at the primary school and in the district. And I just feel really supported by this board. Almost done. My staff, I spent a lot of time this year talking with my staff about putting students in the positions to be successful. And that's just what they did for me this year, was they made sure that they gave me plenty of opportunities and allowed me to be successful. And made sure that we had a really good year this year. And then finally, I'd like to just kind of thank my family. This year here was totally different than any year in the past. I'm used to being just a classroom teacher, kind of home by 3 o'clock every day, spend plenty of time with my family, summers off, vacations off. And that's different this year. but it's been a welcome change, and it's been very good. So just wanted to give them a shout out for especially my wife that's really taken on kind of a single mother approach right now with me being called away all so often. But that's it. So thank you.
Any questions or comments?
All I want to say is, I know the last few years it's been different with like COVID and everything, but this year, my son talked about you all the time, about how he would see you all the time. You were the nicest principal, and I mean, as a parent, I love hearing that my son is seeing the principal, and it's like bringing a feeling of joy. You watch TV and the principal's so scary, but like you gave him such a good outlook of like a principal who's helpful and there, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to make sure Pam puts in the paper that he thanked his wife. Make sure that's in the paper. Okay. Thank you, Pam. All right, thank you, Pam.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Chris?
All right, I'll make mine quick. I didn't bring my thank you list with me. I should probably thank, though, Pat, TJ, and Carrie, because when Michael called me up with ridiculous questions, I would say, that's really something you should talk to Pat, TJ, or, so thank you, guys. We're kind of excited, but still a little apprehensive. It's been a year in the works on getting a new phone system into the whole district. It's something we've been working on. They finally actually have all the phones in. That was the first hurdle. And now they're just testing all the lines and everything to make sure everything's going to work good. But it's going to really bring us kind of into the 20th century. These will be, and you know, they're telling us all these things. Like, we got to wait and see if that happens. But supposedly, when we get these phones, you know, first of all, we'll actually all be connected as a district. Where now, if you're at the elementary school and you want to call the primary school, you have to actually dial their number. Now, each school will have its own extensions that are different, and they can just dial the extension to get the other school. So that'll be a big step up. And supposedly, with these phones, if once the phones are actually programmed, you could actually, a teacher could actually, not that we're going to suggest this, but a teacher could actually take that phone, take it home, put it on their network, and as long as it's connected to the internet, they could get their phone calls on it. So if we ever did have a remote thing that happened, we could, that would be an addition. So it'll really help once we get it all in. It should hopefully be in over the summer. And then the only other thing to share is we're lucky enough to have Dan Weeks. He's our state rep for basically all things grants. He's coming tomorrow to meet with area, Western Maine administrators to talk about the grant system and helping us get set up for the grants for next year, especially the title grants that we have that support a lot of our teachers. So that'll be good. He'll be here and help us walk us through that, make it a little easier on the area administrators.
Any questions or comments? I do want to say, Pam, don't put the phone home thing in the, okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Norma?
Hello. I forgot my thank you list too, but thank you all for welcoming me. Ken Vine's been a huge help for me since I've been here, and all the principals have been patient in most of the time. And Scott, of course, and Laura's been a huge help, and Crystal at the office with all my questions and emails. I've been on vacation all week, so not a whole lot to report. I went to the Safety Summit Conference today with Ron Duplessis, one of the bus maintenance people. We learned a lot down there about accidents and what we should be doing paperwork-wise and report-wise, and plans that we're going to have that I'm going to work on this summer, that we're going to introduce some training to the drivers. Rules, regulations, national transit feds were there from Washington DC that taught us a lot today. Some stuff I didn't have a clue about, to be honest. That's about it. I am interviewing another driver Wednesday. We still need bus monitors. I had one application for a bus monitor, I believe, I haven't got to yet. And that's it. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura?
First of all, I'd like to announce that we were selected for one of Full Plate, Full Potential's grants. We were awarded $6,000 for our summer feeding program. So we're looking forward to that, helping with some of that cost. We did notify DOE of our intent to participate in Special Provisions 2 for the upcoming school years, 4 years. What that means is that we will be doing the paper application the first year in all 4 of our buildings, and then we will set our site numbers, and those will be our qualifying numbers for the next 3 years thereafter. So that should help us as far as application and paperwork. We did begin our summer feeding program on the 16th here at the high school, which will run for 10 consecutive days. That is a closed enrolled site, meaning it's only open for those students on TJ's high school summer school. The summer feeding program for the summer rec program began on Tuesday, the 21st. We're feeding roughly 100 students over there daily, and that's Monday through Friday, and that will run until the 29th of July. That is an open site, and breakfast is served at 8:30 through 9, and lunch from 11 to 12. So anyone that is under the age of 18 is able to go over there to the 25 Cedar Street for meals. The food program for the 21st century, which will take place over at the middle school, will begin next Monday, the 27th, and that will run through August 11th. That's a Monday through Thursday program. Again, that's a closed enrolled site. And then the following week, we will open summer school and extended school year for primary, elementary, and the middle school programs. The primary and the elementary schools will be open sites, and again, the middle school will be a closed enrolled site. This summer, one of focus Ken and I will be working on is replacing some equipment and moving some equipment to be better utilized in some of our other buildings. For example, we was able to purchase 2 double ovens, which one will go in the primary and one will be the elementary, and it's my intent to take some of the newer equipment, the oven from the primary, and replace some older equipment here at the high school. So we've got a lot of shifting of equipment that will take place this summer.
Any questions or comments? Lynn?
How is the summer feeding program publicized so that people in the community know that the open sites are
So
available?
one of the ways is it is posted on a web page that's from the state level. I'm sure it's going to be in the paper, as well as we did put up billboards, signage and stuff. And I don't know if it was posted on our website, our Facebook, but I did request that it get posted, so. Okay,
Anyone else?
thank you.
Thank you. Robin? You don't look like Robin.
Hi, good evening. This is going to be very brief. I just want to thank all the board members, school staff, a special shout out for Dan Labonte for running the sound for our graduation ceremony. As you mentioned, it was a beautiful day. We had great attendance with our adults who walked across the stage, and a great outpouring of support from community members, parents, aunts, uncles, all of that. It was great to see everyone. And those that couldn't make it and sent letters of encouragement for our students that went into their graduation bags, that was just such a nice touch, so thank you for doing that. The other thing is an update on our digital literacy grants. We just got word yesterday that we're going to receive another $90,000 to do that. It's going to be over a 3-year period. So they'll give us $30,000 the first year, and then based on our deliverables, they'll continue to give us $30,000. So it's looking pretty good for building that program. That's it.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Ken?
Good evening. Well, it's going to be a little different presentation tonight because Chris has pleaded with me all day that I wouldn't thank everybody and I wouldn't use foolish quotes. So we'll eliminate those and just get into a short thing. First of all, just to let everybody know that we did start our summer cleaning last Thursday, of course. We are very limited on our crews, but some schools, we got very fortunate. We thought, even with the primary school, it was going to be 3 short of what we have there because they've changed other jobs, but they decided to stay for the summer, and that's been a blessing. And you know, things are going well. Trimming and mowing, we've been catching up a lot on that. A lot of trimming and things are getting done. As you go around the schools, you'll see we got a new grounds person that works out of the elementary a lot, and he's doing a fabulous job. And we're looking forward to the maintenance crew coming back. They've been on vacation, and they'll be on vacation probably until the 2nd week of July. So I'm looking forward to them coming back so we can catch up on a lot of little small projects. And certainly one of our biggest projects we've got to address this summer is to correct all the lead testing that we've done and had some negative results. Really, I think we've come through it real well compared to a lot of schools, and I think we'll get that certainly buttoned up and be moved on. And to end that report, as I said, I wasn't going to give any quotes, but I am going to, in front, I put on one on each table. There's a picture of the fence is down in front of the central office. Here about 3 weeks ago, we had a gentleman that called out of the blue. His name was Stephen Hunter. I believe he comes from Winthrop. He called and just wanted to know, is there any chance you'd let me paint that chain link fence down in front of the central office? He was coming close to Memorial Day, and he said, you know, I know you guys put all them flags up there. And I said, well, we don't. And he said, well, you put a brand new one up on the pole, which we did. So he said, I think it'd be nice to have that fence painted. In that picture, you'll see how bad it did look. I took it when there was a spot that hadn't been painted yet. And he went through it and put a Rust-Oleum paint on it. And believe me, if you watch him do it, he went in through every little nick and cranny and both sides. And I think he did a fabulous job. It was all a volunteer job. Scott and I talked about this for a while and said, do you know, and I think it's part of our life today. We don't trust anybody. And we kind of said no. And then Scott said, well, it's up to you. You do what you feel. And so I said, well, I asked the guy if he had any references. He told me a person in Winthrop for the cemetery crew that he's been doing work for several years. And I did. I called him. The guy gave him the highest kudos. Said he's done ours. He's done all of our fences around cemeteries and things down here for the last 4 or 5 years. The first couple of years, he did them for absolutely nothing. He said then we felt so guilty that we started paying for at least his paint when he was doing them. So anyway, I think it was a fabulous thing that he done. It certainly shows some great support in our district, and like I said, he doesn't even come from this area, but he does have a girlfriend in Farmington. He drives by every day to watch and goes to see. So that was good. And I'm going to end it on a great note that I've had. I have a 36-year-old son that I really thought that would never get married. I said, oh boy, he's going to stay single all of his life, and I'm not sure how his life's going to come. But anyway, last July, he met a very wonderful woman from Massachusetts, and he got married in September. Well, lo and behold, they didn't wait long. This Monday at 1:45, he had twin little baby girls. So that's my story. No quotes, Chris. No quotes.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And Lynn, could we do a letter to the gentleman that did the fence?
We've already talked about it.
Any other comments, questions? Andrew?
I drive Park Street all the time, and I saw the work that the gentleman was doing on the fence, and he was very careful, very meticulous. He had ground cloth, so no paint got on the grass or anything like that, and just looked like a brand-new fence. I had no idea it was a volunteer thing. I would like to make a motion, or if we can find a way to at least pay for his paint and maybe his gas, because that was a very professional job.
I don't think we need to make a motion, we just do it, can we? Yeah, we, go ahead, make a motion, do it.
I move that we reimburse the gentleman for his paint and a letter of thank you from Lynn, if that's not already on the agenda, for the terrific work he did on the fence and getting that painted.
We have a motion, we have a second by Pat. Any further discussion? Laura wasn't ready for that one, so I'm letting her find her.
Or if you want to edit that down, it's fine.
Robin?
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Chantel?
Yes.
Jody? Yes. Pat?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Andrew? Bob?
Yes. So move.
And I'll say, I'll be very happy to speak with him and see what the cost of the paint was, but I almost have a funny feeling he's gonna say, no, thank you this time, but I'd love to do it. So.
Thank you. And the only thing I really have, the big thing I have to say is welcome back to Lena. Congratulations on winning your stiff competition, yes. Heard it was a close vote, huh? And I did get a chance to attend both the high school graduation and the adult ed graduations, and it was really cool. TJ made us work for it, but
Exercise.
okay, on to policy. I'd entertain a motion to accept the second and final reading of policy KI, visitors to the schools. Moved by Elaine, second Phoebe. Any further discussion on this? Comments, questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Elaine?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
Tasha? Yes. Chantel?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, so moved. And COVID-19 update.
There is no report.
I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A. Moved by Phoebe, we have second Lena. Roll call.
Chantel?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, so moved. Okay, we're back in session at 6:32. And entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's request to carry over 5 vacation days from fiscal year 2021-22 to fiscal year 2022-23. Motion by Lynn, second by Pat. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Polly? Yes. Chantel?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Robin? Yes. Lena?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, so moved. Entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A. Motion by Phoebe, second by Pat. Roll call, please.
Elaine?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Chantel?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
Tasha? Yes. Pat?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, so moved. And Michael and Pat, please stay. Okay, we're back in session at 6:43. I'd entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's nomination of Jessica Morgan to the position of RTI teacher at Spruce Mountain Primary School.
So moved.
Phoebe, and a second by Pat. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so moved. I'd entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's nomination of Emily Cheney to the position of RTI teacher at Spruce Mountain Elementary School.
So moved.
Moved by Phoebe, second by Elaine. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so moved. Yeah, next up is the substitute pay rate.
Should all have the sheet in front of you. You know, just trying to keep up, trying to balance out, stay close to what everybody else is doing in the area, looking at a couple positions, given a little bit more than we have in the past because it's hard to find those substitutes. As you know, we've had a lot of substitutes in the last couple of years. Times have changed drastically, and by making a few of these corrections, I think we'll stay in the ballpark where we need to. So.
So I'd entertain a motion to accept the proposed substitute pay rates for fiscal year 2022, 2023. Moved by Elaine, second by Pat. Now, any questions, comments? Joel?
So, did you figure a slight increase as you put the budget together as far as substitutes and typical hours and everything else like that?
Yeah.
So that's, in
But
a sense, it's baked in there?
Yeah, but I mean, we
It's-
got nailed this last year for substitutes, even when you figured some of this stuff in there.
Well,
because you-
we know we moved it up,
Yeah.
and I think we all kind of suspected that this was a check valve that was gonna ratchet, so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's good for the subs, it's good for the school, it's just, we gotta work through the numbers in the end, so.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with the numbers will be how many substitutes, how many people are gonna be out, and how often do we use the substitutes? And that was because of COVID, the last couple of years was a much bigger number. So.
Anyone else? Pat?
I just wanted to point out, yes, despite, that cost of expense increase, there is a cost of living increase out in the community, and, hopefully this does attract more folks that are willing to maybe earn those couple extra dollars an hour working in the district as opposed to maybe traveling out of the community, keeping them closer to home, especially bus monitors, right? Yeah, we need those. But, I mean, $18 an hour for being a bus monitor that's a pretty good deal. I mean, in comparison to some other hourly rate jobs. So I like to see it, even though, yeah, it does cost more money, but we need people too.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't approve this,
Yes.
this is just an FYI.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And the next thing that you have, this is just a FYI, it's the school board meeting schedule. So, and which remind me, and which remind me, now that we've reconvened the board, we need to think about what committees you want to be on. So if within the next week, if you can get me, just shoot me an email with the committees you might want to be on, and I'll try to honor all those as best as I can. If I don't hear from you, you get what you get. Go ahead.
Do you have like a overview of what each committee does and like the biggest things to be aware of on those?
Not really, but if you have a question, you know, you can. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Joel?
My question on this tentative August 11th, is our assumption that it's not happening unless heard otherwise, or is our assumption it is happening unless?
Well, I was going to mention that during the calendar thing. Be prepared for that meeting. We are going to have one.
Okay, so tentative means assume it's not.
It's.
I would assume it's on unless something changes between now and then, but I would assume that it's on.
Okay, all I wanted, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so on 15-9, each year the board gives the superintendent permission to hire staff over the summer months, July and August. And the rationale behind that is that if you wait for the board meeting, someone may not want to wait 2 months to find if they've actually been brought in by the board. So we trust the superintendent we have all in the past, because it's up to us now to vote on that. But that's the rationale behind this. So entertain a motion to approve the Superintendent Albert to hire staff over the summer months of July and August, or from this point actually until the end of August.
So moved.
Moved by Pat, second by Chantel. Yay, me. And any questions, comments? Lynn?
As you probably recall, every year when this comes up, I am concerned with the fact that state law says that the superintendent is to nominate staff and the school board is to hire the staff. So it always feels to me like I'm shirking my responsibility. This has absolutely nothing to do with my trust of our superintendent, but that if that's what the state law says. At the same time, I fully understand how, more than ever, how urgent it is to grab employees when we've got a good candidate. We can't let it slide. So last year, I voted in favor of this with the condition that we would at least be provided the pink sheet in a timely manner so that if someone has an issue, they can raise it quickly. But that concern stays with me, because I feel like when we turn over that, we are not following the state law.
Would you like to do an amendment to that to include that?
No.
Okay. Elaine?
I will agree with what Lynn just said. That has bothered me as well. Now that I've been on like a full year, this is my second year. I know we don't have any meetings in July. I wouldn't mind one meeting in July to be able to get that done. But if we can do that, maybe we need an amendment that says, you know, if there's going to be some hiring, that we at least get the information and the pink sheet type thing. Would you support such a thing?
I would.
And it's not that I don't trust you, as Lynn
Yeah.
said. It's a matter of, yeah, it's law.
And I think the last 2 years, we have received that information in a timely manner. So I know that that will be done. I just don't want to offer an amendment to that because I'm thinking that we're still not following the law.
Even if we amend that, yeah. So,
As far as I know, other school districts do the same thing that we
Yep.
do.
56 has always done that.
that would be my intent, to still send them out.
Yep.
It's just that the law, the language in the law, I don't know if it's something that we can go on.
So what I'd do is if you vote going through, and you could say, as long as it's approved by our lawyers, or however you want to word it. Joel's over there, what? Yeah. What do you want to do?
Personally, I think, we should, if there's no amendment to have this information come to us, I think we vote on it, and then still have Scott can just ask that question to legal to see where that covers us or doesn't for another time. But we have been doing this like this forever. I know other districts have done it. The district I was in did it. So it's been a standard procedure.
It's a very practical thing to do, given the circumstances and finding, but it's also a very common thing for people to drive over the speed limit, and that doesn't make that right. That's just, that's where I come from.
I know you were looking right at it.
Phoebe?
So, it was my understanding that, for the past few years I've been on the board, when we do this vote, it's just a part-time waiver that we're giving him the authority to do that. Which is, I've never heard of anybody taking any issue with it in the state of Maine. I haven't looked into other states, of course, but as far as I know, every other school district has done it that way. But I wouldn't be opposed to adding an addendum as long as it passes the legal snuff. Then voting on it that way, I wouldn't assume that it wouldn't, but we could always add that.
And my non-legal mind here would say that we are hiring by extension, giving the superintendent the permission to do that, so. Joel?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I've looked at it through all the years of doing it as a board is, and again, I'm not a lawyer. I read things like lawyers sometimes, but I'm an engineer, so I read things like an engineer as well. But the way I've always read this one is it's not necessarily a stepwise that it's this, then that, whatever, but we're putting a defined term because the rest of the year, the superintendent doesn't have this capability, but we're giving us the defined term of basically our pre-authorization, however you want to look at it, as far as we are still approving them by going through the superintendent to do it. So I'm fine with getting the legal interpretation officially, but I almost think we did that once a long time ago in a previous past, maybe back when it was the J board or something like that. We talked about something like this, but I mean, in my mind, I'm fine voting on it as motioned at this point, so.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Jody? Yes. Lynn?
No.
Robin?
Yes.
Lena?
Yes.
Elaine?
No.
Tasha? Yes. Pat?
Yes.
Lynn, sorry, Joel?
I don't get two votes.
Susie?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Again?
Yes.
You don't get to.
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Yes. Did everybody get a chance to vote once?
Holly
Holly wants to vote.
I'll say yes.
Holly.
I have Tasha twice, that's why. When I took my April, so I still had Doug, Brandy, John, and Steve, so I had to cross them out and change them. Sorry, Holly.
Bring another copy.
So moved. Okay, Mr. Plord is coming up to talk about the high school handbook.
Hi, everyone. There are a number of things in the student handbook that we looked at as a staff this past year, and looking at how we can help make this school run a little bit safer, a little bit more smoothly. And also, just with the first one, and if you don't mind, I'm going to quickly go through and give you rationales, if you don't mind. The first one is the class ranking and weighting. That is something over the past 4 or 5 years that we've noticed that colleges are looking at the weighted grades and only giving certain scholarships to students with high enough GPAs, and some of them go over 4.0. And some of our kids were not getting those scholarships at the colleges, and it has to do with the fact that the AP courses that we were offering and our honors courses were still at a lower percentage rate, which this is helping it, and it'll help our students as they get ready to start applying for colleges and things like that. So that was our big one for that. Book bags, it's a safety issue. Currently, our vaping and our drug use and things like that, kids right now can carry their bags in the hallways, and when we look at those things are super easy to hide in those areas, so we want to make sure that they're using their lockers and things like that, and making sure that they're not in the bathrooms, and they're also not in the classrooms and things. And it just helps us, as we start to police that type of thing. The cell phone use, and I know all of you have looked at cell phone use. Cell phone use is a big thing in the past 2 years. We've kind of let it go. We wanted to see where these kids were going to go with it because of COVID, and kids were using it a lot more, and now they're using it too much. So we've got to kind of rein it in a little bit, especially in the high school age. They'll still be able to use it during the cafeteria time, in the hallways. They'll still be able to use it, but not in the classrooms. We're really trying to hone that in. The idea is less time on their actual personal devices and more time on our devices that we provide. And that's where this really comes in. It kind of spells it out a little bit. So our staff, that one took a long time to go through, I'll be honest with you, because we have 2 camps. Some say, hey, we need to let it go. Some say we just to prepare them for college and that type of stuff. And this is where we came to as a staff, and we're pretty fortunate to come to this point. This is a hard one to discuss. And then as we look at the personal dress, there was only one thing in there that we really needed to change. The rest of it seemed really good, and it was with it's back. Heelys are back, right? So we had to put it in there because I had 2 or 3 kids this year that had them, and they're like, it's not in the handbook. And I said, guess what, next year? So that's where we're at with that. It's always it's a topic. Dress code is something that's always been a topic for us. And lately, it really hasn't been that big of a deal. Kids really do a pretty decent job coming to school dressed appropriately. And if they don't, then we address it, usually, and they fix it really quick, and there's no consequence. It's, hey, I forgot I wore this thing that said the F word on it or something, and okay, we're going to turn it inside out. And the kids do a really good job with it. So when I look at our grooming and our dress, it's really not a big topic. So that's where I'm at.
Comments, questions? Pat, Joel, Ava.
TJ, really appreciate all the hard work, especially with the aspect with the electronic devices, cell phones, bringing everybody to the table to kind of, come up with a plan. And that's good that is in place. I just was looking over for the actual book.
Yep.
I just think that the pages and these lines might have.
I'm going to end up going back through those for the index. I don't include the index until I'm done.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to go back through and really get them all, because I have to change each bookmark, and then it links on a PDF.
Yeah.
And then, I've definitely, once I finish this, that's my
Oh,
That's
it's
my baby.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So thank you for the summary form.
Yep.
And just a few points, I guess on the, around the cell phones, where you mentioned hearing devices, I think you want to be sure to exclude any medically required ones or something like that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we have some scenarios,
Yep.
I'm sure, around that. So I felt that was too much of a catch-all.
Yep, I can fix that with,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, just a little catchphrase in
Yeah.
there or something.
Yep.
Then the engineer, non-lawyer guy, I feel down in the lower parts of that, they're both in the red areas, where you use the word confiscated.
Yep.
That's more of a legal word, and I'm thinking you might want to use something a little less defined than that to just.
Yeah, the only issue that I find with that is when we do school law, that's the terms they use.
Really?
Yeah, so, and I've gone through that before, and I can change it, it's really not a big deal, it's just something that I've used, so.
Okay, I actually went and looked it up, and it talks about taking for public use and stuff like that.
Yep.
And my concern is, the expectation is you're going to be giving it back versus
Yep.
keeping it.
I
so.
can definitely fix that,
Yeah.
yep.
And then lastly, just because we have a nice new, fresh off the presses policy around visitors, did you have any intent of a recommended way of dealing with that?
That's something that we're gonna, so there are a couple other things that we're looking at over the summer that I haven't put in the handbook yet because we haven't had much time to really look at it. And with that new policy change, we're gonna, and Scott has already advised us as administrators to take a look at it over the summer and put that into our handbook. And the good thing about our handbooks now, I can change it, I can do things at the end of the summer to get it ready, but this just gets us ahead of the game. Yep.
Ava?
Okay, so I had a thing about the backpack one.
Yeah.
Like the rest I'm fine with. But just personally, knowing for the past 2 years having backpacks, it was definitely a lot easier, especially if you had like more like books and stuff for class. And compared to freshman year when I got lucky with my locker placement and it was in the academic wing.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to go back and forth. But especially I think for seniors, because I know their lockers are in the hallway, and even this year me and my friends had lockers like right outside the academic wing, and it was really difficult to like
Go back and forth.
go back and forth all
Yep.
the time. So a lot of us just carried our stuff with us, like depending on if it was a green day or black day.
Right.
So could there be like, and I know that like, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say this,
Yeah.
but like vapes and stuff are easy to hide in pockets as well.
Right.
Knowing kids who didn't take backpacks still like had them.
Yep. So
Like-
I hear what you're saying, I definitely do. And it also comes down to search laws too. So when we search students, we can't, and if we had dogs come in, we can only search certain areas and we can't search students with dogs. So that we have the lockers that are being used. So we're trying to get it safer with the drug use and things like that. So that was another piece of our discussion too, so.
Is there a way to just like give us just a little bit more time in between classes, or
I definitely can take a look at that.
making sure like teachers like know if you're like in the middle school and you have to go
Right.
back to your locker to their class,
Yep.
or maybe just making sure they let us out on time. So
Absolutely.
I know sometimes like we go over, which is fine.
Right.
But it's just then having to like run to your locker.
Yeah, it's a good point. I appreciate that, definitely. Yep.
Tasha?
So I was open to talk about like extra time in between classes. Am I?
There you go.
How does it?
There
Am
you
I
go,
on?
there, you're
Okay.
on.
So extra time in between classes, just if you're going to take backpacks away. But also my concern is like, are you going to allow purses? I mean, I'm the mom of daughters.
Yeah, I know,
so,
and I am
like,
a
they
dad
definitely
of
don't want
daughters.
to carry personal hygiene
Yep, I
items
getcha. Yep.
out and about. So I just want.
I'm not
like a
going to say,
messenger bag,
we're,
like,
purses are not backpacks, okay? So we're not going to be we're not going to be going after that piece, right? I mean, that's definitely a topic I have to worry about all the time. yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, and then I don't know, our boy's gonna be like, well, the girls are allowed messenger bags, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you,
That's it. I mean,
Yep.
whatever, but there may be that concern.
Very good.
Andrew?
I don't want to open up a can of worms, but is there a definition for symbols of hate, or is that subject to interpretation, or is
No,
that?
so we go with what the civil, so it's the civil violations of that, so it's on our, the state website for which ones we actually use for symbols of hate, that the civil rights portion of the state does that, so that's where we use those, so.
Anyone else? Lynn?
I didn't see anything. Do you have anything in your handbook about hair? Any restrictions whatsoever on student hairstyle?
No.
No, okay.
No, absolutely,
I've
yeah.
read some articles about that being an issue in some places.
They should all be like
Should
this.
all have some.
Right, Scott? No.
No, good, good.
No, absolutely not. No, freedom of expression, you know, there's definitely that piece. Yep.
Phoebe?
All right, I know you've already been grilled about book bags already, but I have a little bit more to go over, if you don't mind. Book bags in the classroom has been basically an age-old issue every year since before even I was alive. What I've noticed in this one with the change, however, is it's not putting in any addendum for those on an IEP or those who need a bag in order to carry their items.
Those supersede, so that's not an issue. That's something we've talked about with hats and things like that throughout the years. Those IEPs supersede that piece, so that doesn't need to be in part of that, so.
Right. I was hoping that we could put just a quick line saying that it supersedes so that those kids don't necessarily become targets, because not all students know who has an IEP and who doesn't.
Right, but
So
then they would
might
know as soon as they're wearing the certain thing that says that they are. So we've not done that on purpose, so I would personally rather not put that in, just because it can identify a kid. Yep.
Anyone else? Okay.
Handbook's tough.
I'd entertain a motion to accept the Spruce Mountain High School Handbook for the fiscal year 2022-23 school year. Jody and Pat, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 She ran to the restroom. Yes.
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 Yes. And when Ava comes back, let's get her vote on this one. Okay, so we have, you have your list of co-curricular, other appointments, retirements, resignations. And on the calendar, nothing for July. The August 11th, even though it says tentative, remember it's, schedule it, put it in your planners, because it's probably going to happen, possibly not. Ava, would you like to vote on the handbook?
Abstain? Can I abstain? Can I not vote?
You want to, you can vote on this.
I can?
Yes.
Yes.
And the August 25th meeting is at the high school. Finance will be there for the finance members. We'll find out what that is. And policy, we're going to be setting one sometime end of August, 1st September, somewhere in there. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants, oh, wow. Just pick one. Chantel and Elaine, a second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Just send me a thing, because I'll never remember.
Nope, Bob doesn't want to go.
Bye. Yes.